Guess we'll figure it out. Is it straight? Yeah, because my wife's she's gonna get on you, not me. She's gonna call you, not me.
Anthony?
Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is the first place award winner of the 2015 New Orleans Press Club's Excellence in Journalism Award for the category of Best TV Sports Show.
Good evening, New Orleans, and welcome to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we're going to cover the New Orleans Saints, the New Orleans Pelicans, and you know we're talking about college baseball. And we got two guys that could break it down for you. From sportsnola.com, Lenny Vangilder and Rick Gaille are our guests tonight. We'll take calls a little bit after the bottom of the hour. Gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. We always like to start off letting folks know a little bit about what you guys are involved in, your publications. In your case, Rick, we're going to give you a long list of things that where they can catch you.
That's right.
But Lenny, tell us a little bit about what's happening with Sports NOLA.
A lot right now. Granted, the high school season is over, but we're already starting to count down to next fall, starting with high school football previews starting to ramp up on the site. It's 13 weeks away from the opening weekend of the high school football season, which I know gets Rick excited. Right. But starting that, and of course we've got college baseball covered wall to wall as well. A couple of interesting features up this week leading into the start of the regionals.
Thank you again for being with us, and again, sportsnola.com. Make it put on your list of favorites for sure. Rick, welcome back again, as always. Thank you. Why don't you let the folks know a little bit about what you're involved in?
Well, it's my pleasure being here, and especially being here with Lenny. What a great pleasure it is to work with the people at Sports NOLA, Lenny, Ken Trahan, WHNO as well, WGSO, along with Ed Daniels. I've been very fortunate to work with the best in the business, and I appreciate you asking me on your show as well. So you go to sportsnola.com or at Rick Gaille at whatever, Instagram, Twitter.
You're Instagramming now, huh?
Well, I have an account.
Yeah.
or any of those, yes. Yes, old people can indeed learn how to use social media.
He's tearing it up, isn't he, Lenny, on the social media?
Oh, he's crushing it.
I mean, he really is.
He crushes it. I'm just happy to be along for the ride.
Me too. So. You ain't kidding there, that's for sure. And of course, the Three Tailgaters, which Rick is involved in, the longest running sports radio show in New Orleans. Okay, don't forget about that. They've been around a long time. Guys, let's start off with college baseball. What a year, huh? What a year for Louisiana when it comes to college baseball. Lenny, you and I talked on the radio show a little bit earlier in the week. It's almost like it was when I was coming up, what we got used to during the Bertman era. I mean, where all these Louisiana teams, week in, week out, whether you were playing the midweek game on the weekends, they were a challenge. And this year, really no different. Yeah,
and look, and we've got 5 teams playing in the tournament starting on Friday. And that's part of it, but that's just that's not the whole story. I mean, the great story of what UNO did this year. On down the line, Northwestern had a terrific year. They were in the top 50 of the RPI the entire year, finished 3rd in the Southland. So there were others besides just the 5 that have made the tournament. And look, there's some, terrific stories there as well. Southeastern getting the first at-large bid in school history. Louisiana Tech going to the tournament for the first time since 1987. Obviously, Tulane back for the 2nd year in a row. Lafayette getting a chance to host at Teague Moore Field one final time before they tear down the old grandstand there and build a new stadium. And of course, last but not least, LSU getting making the late run to get to be a national seed, which I think was deserved based on their finich.
Can we throw in our buddy Joe Sherman over Delgado?
Absolutely, and no doubt. Very happy for Joe. Congratulations to he and Delgado. Not only getting to the Junior College World Series for the 3rd year in a row, winning a game. And that game happened to be his 900th career win. Joe and I go way back, too far back, in fact. And so I'm very happy for him and his family and the entire program.
Well, we come up in the same old neighborhood together, and believe me, what a great family. Rags was so good to me coming up. And again, I guess was it the chip? He's a chip off the old block for sure. When you start talking about what he's meant to Delgado baseball and really carrying on the legacy of his father.
Oh, no question about it. And you know, he got, you know, we're coming up on Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame time here at the end of June. Rags was inducted in 1990, and it was there that he said, you know what, this is going to be it. I'm going to retire from coaching at Delgado. The reins were handed to Joe. So 26 years later, here we are, and 900 wins later. You know, 3 years from now, I guess we're going to be talking about him winning his 1,000th game. We may be talking about Joe down the road going in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, joining his dad.
That would be awesome. Coach, from you coaching on the high school level, the college level, you've seen obviously what the great coaches in this area do with football, basketball, every sport, baseball, man. From starting at the little leagues to the traveling teams to high school, we got some great coaching in this state, and it's kind of panned out when you look at Louisiana baseball this year.
Oh, absolutely. This may have been the best year overall when you look at the number of really good, sound, fun to watch prep teams. College baseball from one end of the state to the other. Not only do we have 5 teams in the regionals, but it's in 4 different regions. Only one of those regionals has 2 Louisiana teams. The rest of them are spread out. That's a sign of respect, that they're not just saying, okay, well, you just got in, so we'll just lump you to the nearest school. And for the second time, I believe, in 3 years, 2 regionals 90 miles apart in Lafayette and Baton Rouge. That's starting to, that really shows the respect nationally that this state has. And a strange baseball season, in a sense, how strong the Southeast is, because the furthest west in any region is in Lubbock, Texas. Nothing out on the West Coast, everything. I thought it was College Station at first, so somebody corrected me on social media. Hey, don't forget about us out in Lubbock. I said, what, is that still in the United States? So, I mean, great baseball in the southeastern part of the country, and great, great baseball. And you're right, the reason for it is the same reason in football, great coaching. We weren't that great in baseball at St. James, but we hired some good coaches like Marty Luquette and others that really started his high school coaching with us at St. James. So we had some really great coaches there. And so we know what good baseball is, and this state has it.
No doubt.
You bring up a good point there, Rick. You go back, the last time Louisiana had 5 teams in the tournament was 2005, and all 5 of those teams ended up in 2 regionals at LSU and at Tulane.
That's right.
And those 2 regionals were bracketed against each other, so no matter how well anybody did, only one team was getting to Omaha. Well, you've got a chance at potentially, I think 3 of the 5 could end up in Omaha the way it plays out, because Louisiana Tech and UL Lafayette would end up meeting in a super regional, and of course Tulane's in a different part of the bracket. Of course, Southeastern is at LSU this weekend.
Boy, wouldn't that be wonderful? Let's talk about LSU first. From a team that lost, what, 8 starters on this roster to a team that had some little bit of hiccup at the beginning of the year and then goes on a winning streak. Man, they don't get the luck of the draw where they have to take on the #1 team on the last couple of weekends of the regular season and into postseason. But my gosh, this team really turned it around and really matured under fire.
They did, and look, they've picked up a couple of pitchers here, basically almost like mid-season trades on the pro level, getting Latz back and being able to use him, and some of these other guys that have stepped up as well. Gilbert has moved into a little bit of a starting role and really developed there, but the offense has been a key in all of this. And when we visited on the radio a few days ago, I mentioned the fact that you can't underestimate the job that Andy Cannizaro has done with the LSU bats this year and trying to get those guys to develop and improve as the season has gone along. Look, as you get later in the year, obviously it's when you're getting into conference play, and there's no gimmies on Tuesday nights right now in Louisiana. So they have really progressed and obviously playing their best baseball in the month of May, and we'll see if it carries over to June.
Hopefully it does. Coach, what can you say about the LSU Tigers and the run that they've been on lately?
It shows you, once again, how important baseball, maybe more than any other sport, execution, execution, execution. Putting the ball in play offensively, catching it, throwing it to the right place at the right time, because there's no comparison talent-wise between LSU and Florida. When you look at them, pound for pound, inch for inch, Florida is much better, but LSU's been highly successful against them because they just keep executing and executing and executing, and baseball is such a technical sport. in the execution of the game. And LSU's strength now is their ability to execute on a consistent basis.
Florida may have more major league prospects than the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
Wow. That's on their pitching staff. They're loaded. They are loaded.
That is pretty strong. Southeastern, again, man, what a great overall sports program they have at Southeastern now. And of course, it's carried over to the baseball program. Talk about their year. Talk about their chances in this Baton Rouge Regional.
Well, it's interesting, and I've got a story up at sportsnola.com today about the Southeastern Rice game. It's a great difference, if you will, in the ages of the coaches. Matt Reiser's the youngest coach in the tournament at 31 years old. Wayne Graham's the oldest coach in the tournament. He's 80. And here they are going to be matching wits when Matt Reiser was born, the year he was born, Wayne Graham won 50 games in junior college in that year, just that year. So that gives you an idea of how long Wayne Graham's been doing it. And had a chance to visit with a lot of people about that story. It was it was a lot of fun. But look, Southeastern has some really good pitching. They were 6th in the nation in ERA this year. Jamison Fisher is leading the nation in batting. He's been up there on base percentage and slugging percentage all year long. Was named a first-team All-America on Thursday by Collegiate Baseball, deservedly so. They've got some talent. Now the question becomes this: when you go, look, you've seen so many teams from Louisiana, get sent to a regional in Baton Rouge. Yeah. It's a 4-team tournament. What it comes down to is this: can you beat LSU 2 out of 3 games? Okay, it's a double elimination tournament. Unless something crazy happens and somebody knocks somebody off that you don't expect, you've got to be able to beat LSU 2 out of 3 games, facing their best. This isn't Tuesday night anymore. You've got to be able to do it facing their best, and that's what they've got to be able to do. And that's a big challenge. But the arms and the offense they've got, I give them a puncher's chance if they can get by Rice on Friday night. It looks like both teams are going to throw their number 2 starters because both of them went deep into their tournaments, brought back their Wednesday starters to pitch in the championship game on Sunday.
Coach, man, when you talk about Southeastern, they don't seem to be very intimidated by going up to Baton Rouge, are they?
No, they know how to play the game. And what a great story Southeastern is overall. What a great university. Parents who are looking for a school close to home but still getting the kids out of the house need to go visit Hammond. That is a great place, just a great university to begin with. And they're super in baseball, and Ron Roberts is going to really have a good football team this year as well. And it just shows you that when you have a complete sports program, including football, because it took an effort to get football back at Southeastern, how it benefits everybody in the university.
Yep, no doubt, and I can concur with Coach's thoughts about Southeastern. I've got a lot of my cousins, their kids, they go to Southeastern, and it's a beautiful thing because just across the lake, but yet they've got that college experience.
Yeah, one other thing with Southeastern we should add is J.R. Teagues, moved into the AD's chair 3 years ago after being the baseball coach. You don't see that move happen.
Right.
Baseball coach to AD very often, but they have really excelled here in the last 3 years. Handed the keys to the kingdom and baseball side to Matt Reiser, his assistant, who's continued to do great things. Obviously, you're continuing to see outstanding things in the other sports as well.
Let's talk about Tulane in the Oxford Regional with Ole Miss and others. Your thoughts on Tulane, your thoughts on that regional, and can Tulane advance?
Yes, and yes, and yes to all of those. Tulane has won one regional away from home, and that was in Oxford, and it came in 2004.
Right.
Yes. The interesting parts of this regional, obviously, we know we've seen Tulane all year. We've gotten a chance to see Ole Miss, and you know what they're about. Boston College is an interesting 3 seed. They've got a pitcher who may go in the first round of the draft who's going to throw against Tulane on Friday. And Utah may be the best 4 seed in the country. Yeah, they finished 2 games under 500, but they won the Pac-12. They won the Pac-12 tournament. They don't have a tournament. They won the regular season. They won their last 8 series in the Pac-12 to win the regular season title there and get the automatic bid. So they are a dangerous 4 seed and perhaps the best 4 seed in the field, even though, again, their overall record is under 500. They got off to a slow start, struggled a little bit in the middle of the week, but they've definitely got a chance to knock off Ole Miss in the first round, which would really just throw it up for grabs. That's exactly what happened when Tulane won 12 years ago. Ole Miss, as the 1 seed, got beat in the first round. Tulane got into into the driver's seat there, and somebody had to come back and beat them twice on the final day and couldn't do it.
Right. With that said, keys to a victory for the Green Wave in your mind?
They got to start swinging the bats. They have really struggled offensively late in the year, and I think they need to be able to get the bats going. Now, that may be tough facing the young man from Boston College that they're going to face in the opener, but as you start to get deeper in these tournaments, you've got to be able to score. The one thing Tulane does have is a deep starting pitching staff, and they may be able to carry that and pitch their way out of the losers bracket if they get there, but you've got to be able to swing the bats as well to support them. You can't put the pressure on your guys to constantly have to put zero after zero after zero on the board. You've got to support them offensively.
Well, credit to you, Lenny, because you brought this up on 4th down on 4 not too long ago, and everybody had kind of forgotten, everybody in the euphoria of Tulane playing well, and what David Pierce has been able to do there. Everybody wants to talk about Pierce, but a lot of us forgot about Rick Jones, who really set the stage for this. As a former coach, you got to love what Pierce is doing, but you also got to pay homage to the guy that really set the table for him.
Absolutely, and Tulane and UNO have a lot in common there, because Blake Dean, with the great job that he did at UNO this year, was set up because Ron Maestri started getting administration to say yes. Because you got to get administrators to start saying yes to things before you could make progress. There was no other coach in the country that could wield as big a stick as Mace did in getting that program up and running. And then Blake Dean has taken it to another level. You're exactly right about Tulane. Rick Jones is a classic, just immense in what he means to the game.
Yep, no doubt. When you go talk about the Starkville Regional, Louisiana Tech going there, your thoughts?
They've played as good, if not better, than LSU down the stretch. They beat Rice, a 3-game series, swept them at home the last weekend of the regular season. Rice had not been swept in a conference series in 11 years. Give you an idea of what they did. And then they made a deep run, didn't get to the finals, but got to the game before the finals in the Conference USA tournament, which is a very good league this year. They could have put 5 teams in the tournament. They put 4 in. Marshall didn't have quite the overall body of work, but they lost that league by a half a game this year. But Florida Atlantic is in, Southern Miss is in, Rice is in, Louisiana Tech is in. Had a chance to go to Hattiesburg on Sunday and work the Southern Miss Rice game to get a feel for just how good that league was, and that was a terrific conference championship game. But hats off to Greg Goff and what they've been able to do at Louisiana Tech. Again, 1987 at UNO was the last time they've made it to the tournament. That was back in the days that we had 6-team regional, eight 6-team regionals. You won the regional, you went to Omaha, and you were talking about putting all the teams in one place. You had 5 Louisiana teams, and Cal State Fullerton was the outlier who was sent here. Cal State Fullerton was the #1 seed, had to play Southern the first night as the 6th seed. Everybody thought, oh, Fullerton's going to win. They got beat 1-0. Unfortunately, the ones who paid the price of that was Tulane, because then they had to face Fullerton the next afternoon in the losers bracket, and they had saved their best pitcher, Mike Harkey, to pitch the second day. Still may be as good a pitching performance as I've ever seen. But I digress. But one of the ironies of all of that is Tech got eliminated that year by Cal State Fullerton. And who are they opening with? Cal State Fullerton. Yes. And remember, the Starkville Regional is matched up with Lafayette. So obviously the fact that La Tech is there means you want to pay attention. But if you're paying attention to what's going on in Lafayette and the Cajuns advance, they're going to play whoever wins. If Fullerton or Louisiana Tech can knock off Mississippi State, which I would not rule out, Lafayette's got a chance to be at home in the Super Regionals again.
We'll talk about Lafayette.
They've again, another team that closed well. They went second to last weekend of the regular season, went to South Alabama, won that series to close the gap a little bit, then got a little help and then swept the series to end up tying for the regular season title in their league, and then won the conference tournament. You put those two together, all of a sudden they nabbed one of those final host spots, and it was deserved. There were a lot of people saying, hey, wait a minute, what about Southern Miss? What about some of these other schools that are out there that didn't get one over UL Lafayette? Cajuns deserved it. Plus, it's a great atmosphere. They're going to pack it in. It's going to be a lot of fun. Watching baseball. As we mentioned earlier, it's the last, or could be the last go-round here this weekend or next weekend, whenever it ends up being, for old Teague-Moore Field. Spent a lot of days in that press box. And it's been that stadium has been there as we know it. The grandstand there for about 45 years now, and now they're gonna build them a new one. And the reason is because they draw that well and create that kind of atmosphere there, and it's well deserved. The facilities there, are growing leaps and bounds in Lafayette.
Coach, we talk about Louisiana baseball, but what about the SEC this year and how strong they were?
Baseball and softball.
Right. Very important.
And it was interesting. Show you the respect that ULL gets nationally. They're hosting a region in baseball. They hosted a regional in softball as well. Their softball team, ULL's made it to the Super Regional, got beat by Oklahoma. But what a great story that is. It seems that we're getting a lot of great stories in this state right now. There's a lot of things wrong with this state, as your radio show covers so very often.
Don't remind me.
But we've got so many great stories this year, especially once again in baseball and softball. The southeastern part of the country is just immense in both of those sports. 4 of the 8 schools at the Women's College World Series are from the SEC. None of them playing each other. Right. They're all separate in the opening round games. And obviously the strength in baseball. Once again, no region west of Texas, and so once again dominated by the SEC. But in these double elimination tournaments, and that's why all the Louisiana schools have a chance wherever they're at, you got to win the first game. Got to is a little strong, but it's so much of an advantage. If you can win the first game, especially if you throw in your second pitcher, and you're going into that next game, you know, where perhaps the #1 seed got upset, now you're playing a #4 seed in that second game. Winning the first 2 games is almost a gold ticket.
Yes.
And it will happen, by the way, I'll tell you. You think about, maybe you don't follow baseball that closely. Maybe you're more of a basketball guy and pay attention to March Madness and things like that. With 16, never beats the 1. A couple of 1 seeds are going to get beat in the first round on Friday. That's a given. That is going to happen because, again, all you need is that one arm to go out there and shut that other offense down. It can definitely happen, and you can bet on a couple of those can happen.
Yep, no doubt. Guys, before I go to the Pelicans, both you guys cover high school sports, do a terrific job of it. Sports NOLA leading the region in terms of high school sports. Got to be excited about Zephyr Field being turned into a football stadium, and of course Catholic League games being played over Zephyr Field.
The thing that's good about it is high school football was meant to be played on Friday nights, and unfortunately we have such a shortage of facilities in this area where basically you've got probably 3 dozen high schools sharing 4 stadiums. We're talking about Tad Gormley, Pan American, Joe Yenny, Hoss Memphis on the West Bank. And the math simply doesn't work. So to put another stadium in the mix, and obviously you've got one with a lot of great seating, a lot of great parking, a lot of great concessions and things like that, and putting this series together, honestly, it's long overdue for this to happen. And the new ownership has come in and say, hey, we want to make these types of things happen. We want to host other events besides just 72 Zephyrs games a year, and this is the first step in that direction.
Coach, I've talked about it on the radio show. I think we made a lot of mistakes post-Katrina, but that was one of the big mistakes. Not going out there, using some of that FEMA money that was going into the schools and the school facilities, and not building another stadium for high school athletics.
Absolutely, because for the quality of athletics that we have in this area, we're really underwhelming on the stadium side of it. And it was a long time coming getting Zephyr Field equipped to play football, because it's not just a matter of going out, putting some lines down and saying, okay, fellas, let's go play. There's going to be a lot of temporary seating. Got to do something with the mound. The infield is not particularly designed for football, the dirt part of the infield. But it's been a long time coming, and it's going to be a great venue the way that they have it set up. It's going to be outstanding.
Speaking of the Zephyrs, we'll be changing the name of that stadium soon because the Zephyrs will be changing that name. Any indication of when they're going to announce?
I don't know, but when they promoted the high school series, there was no reference to Zephyr Field. It was all referred to as the Shrine on Airline, which tells me that maybe the announcement comes at the end of the baseball season, just in time for the start of this football package.
Let's talk a little basketball, NBA style. This is, again, of course, the NBA Finals are starting as we're live tonight on Thursday night with the Warriors and the Cavaliers. Guys, do you have a preference on who you think may win the series?
One of the interesting things that I saw is when you've had a repeat matchup, the winner the previous year has only won, I think, 1 out of 7 times. And look, Cleveland's been awfully good, with the exception of 2 games in Toronto. They've been awfully good this postseason, probably better than Golden State has, although you would think, based on the body of work that Golden State assembled in the regular season, obviously they've earned the right for home court if it does come down to a Game 7. It's in Oakland. you'd have to give Golden State a slight edge there. I think Cleveland will win a game in Oakland, but I can certainly see the Warriors going back and getting that home court back in Cleveland.
Coach, your thoughts?
You got to love the way the Warriors play basketball. They kill you with 1,000 paper cuts, and they grind you down and grind you in. When you look at the teams, opposing teams' execution late in the fourth quarter, especially, it's consistently poor because they just wear you down with their execution. So many people are picking Golden State that I'm going to go the other way. And my first inclination is to go with Golden State because I just love the way that they play the game. But I think Cleveland's going to win this year because of what Lenny said. When two teams play in back-to-back years, the loser usually wins a second time. So I'm looking because Cleveland fans have really suffered for a very, very long time.
We can relate.
Identify.
We can definitely relate.
We resemble that remark.
Yes, we do.
And so I think Cleveland's going to win in 6.
I think it's going to be a really good series. I definitely do. Guys, the Pelicans have the 6th pick in the draft. Both Alvin Gentry and Dell Demps, who looks like he's going to be retained now, have been whining and dining future prospects. I think Murray was in town the other night getting a little taste of New Orleans. Guys, with the first of all, your thoughts on Dell Demps coming back. How do you think the fans will react to that? And is it a good move on the part of this team to give Demps one more shot?
Well, he hired Alvin Gentry. So if you're, part of the reason that they did what they did a year ago was because Dell Demps didn't hire Monty Williams, and they wanted him to be able to have his own guy. So if you were to make a move there, and you didn't make a move at Alvin Gentry, and you're right back in the same boat again. You're hiring a general manager who didn't hire the coach. Yes. So that, from that standpoint, I get trying to maintain status quo. And obviously, there were a lot of injuries this year. There's a lot of questions as well, and I would think that the leash is now very short. If you want to make a comparison to the football side, I don't think it's unlike the Rob Ryan leash of a year ago. So let's see how it all plays out. Obviously, the next critical move is the 6th overall pick. Not to be forgotten is the fact they'll also pick 39 and 40 because you've got a chance to get some players who can really help you there in that early part of the second round.
Coach, your thoughts on Demps being retained by the Pelicans?
6 years, spotty at best. I think I'm being kind and saying that the results have been spotty. When are they attacking the problem any differently than what got them into this difficulty to begin with? Do they think that just healing up in the offseason and adding some draft choices is going to make this team better? I have some serious doubts about that. When I compare organizations, I try to look at the most successful people in the business. In basketball, especially professional, look at Pat Riley, look at Jerry West. Would they be doing right now what the Pelicans are doing? And I don't think so. I think that you would see that they're active in what they're doing. They would have had decisions made already, and they would have a plan in place. They'd be working on that plan. It just seems very much just like when they got rid of Monty Williams last year. It's like, oh, well, let's see